Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Belzer, and welcome to the second episode of the Austin B Media podcast. It's a short form podcast that discusses the latest in the world of movies, video games, technology, TV, music, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Let's get started. Before we get into the show proper, I wanted to take some time to thank Thomas Stoneham Judge from the Movies for Real website. That's moviesforreal.com. For his patronage. He's been an invaluable asset to Austin B Media in helping it run. If you want to support the podcast or Austin B Media, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/AustinBmedia or austinb.media/support for more information. Now let's get into the heart of the show, movies. Now, as anyone who's been reading the news lately has known, it's been a big week. It's an unprecedented week. A lot of movies have been moving this week. First up is Godzilla vs. Kong. It moves to March 26th, where it had a mid-May release date on theaters and HBO Max. We got the trailer. The trailer's fantastic. I can't wait to see what is going on there. I think it's Adam Wingard that's doing all this. So bring it on. That would be cool. And just what I'm seeing there is kind of, it's just monsters facing monsters again. It's not humans trying to solve monster problems, if that makes sense. So I like what they're doing there. I have HBO Max, so I can't wait to see it in March or whenever. Secondly, Warner Brothers has announced that they're doing a Willy Wonka prequel directed by the director of the previous two Paddington movies, no third yet, and it'll be coming March 17th, 2023. So that's going to be interesting. There's no really any prequel material from Mr. Dahl, as far as I'm aware of, but they might find something. Paul King's always been good. The Paddington movies are good, so I can't wait to see what he does here, especially if he picks some up-and-comer, not Tom Holland or whatever everyone online has been predicting. So 2023 for that. And then Netflix has bought Connected. It's now called The Mitchells versus the Machines. That's that Phil Lord, Christopher Miller animated film from Sony Pictures Animation. It's what they're doing before Spider-Verse 2. I think they're still doing Spider-Verse 2. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I can't wait for this. I'm a little upset it's sold to Netflix. I would have liked to see what Sony had done with that. Sony seems to have a really good release strategy, and I don't think I could say the same for Netflix. Netflix, I think, treats their movies like, hey, it's just another one. And especially after they released that, one movie a week in 2021, I don't think they value their product as much as Sony does. So, although then there was Monster Hunter, so you got that. I can't wait to see that when it comes out. There's no release date for it now. It was supposed to come out in October of last year. So maybe we get it October this year. Maybe, who knows? As the stories go on, you'll see how hectic this year, and next year is getting. Another movie that moved is Tom Hanks-led Bios. I don't know too much about this movie, but apparently it's going to be. Well, I mean, I don't really know anything. Nothing's been said about this movie, but it's another Tom Hanks movie. And it's moving to August 13th. Maybe there's an awards play there. I don't know. Well, I'll just have to see the trailer to find out. And then the often delayed No Time to Die has been delayed for a third time to an October 18th, if I'm remembering that correctly, release date. So this one is kind of one I want to sit on for a little bit, because MGM has repeatedly said, hey, we'll sell it to a streamer, but then they say, oh, well, we'll sell it to you, but for $600 million. And there seems to be a kind of problem inside MGM or Eon or whoever's producing the Bond films now. I know it's MGM, but there's another production company that oversees all the Bond films. And I don't. After Craig is gone with this one, at the end of this one, I would seriously like to see what behind the scenes on what the release strategy for this is, because it already moved by a year, and now it's moving by 6 months, because it was scheduled for this April, I believe. And yeah, I don't know. Honestly, at this time, I'd rather see No Time to Die go straight to HBO Max or something like that. Something needs to happen, because delaying it for a third time, and if you delay it for a fourth time, I think you really run the risk of people starting to not care about the product. And I'm already starting to see that with this delay, and yikes. So MGM, if you're listening, I don't know if you are, but if you are, maybe consider selling it to Apple TV Plus or HBO Max or Netflix even. Or even doing a $20 rental. That seems to be working for a lot of people. So maybe just do that and see what happens. But you gotta stop delaying this one. It's time to go. And Sony has also moved a few of the other movies other than Connected. I'm sure that the the process of selling the Connected to Netflix kind of was during these following moves, because they moved Peter Rabbit to the Runaway to June 11th out of Easter, which I think would be prime time, but okay. Ghostbusters Afterlife to November 11th, which is a really odd date. The Billy Porter led, or no, I'm sorry, Camilla led Cinderella film on July 16th. Morbius goes to 2022, specifically January 21st, and Uncharted moves to February 11th. The most interesting of those, I think, has to be Morbius and Uncharted moving to 2022. I don't know if they're just not confident in their product, or if it's just, hey, we can't release these things so close together. I don't know, but I feel like you could just drop them on a streaming service day and date. I think Sony even owns Epix or Crackle or something like that. They could do that. Just drop these, or even do a rental for $20. I think that this is going to be the better deal, because I think the strategy all these studios are making are they're kind of saying, oh, well, maybe in July, maybe here is when COVID stops. And I think that kind of thinking is going to be what gets these movies a second or third or fourth delay, because it just you just gotta push them out the door, I think, at this point. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I think we already have a trailer for that, and I think that came out years ago. We've already seen Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway poster, trailers. That's just drop that on a random Tuesday or a Friday. Just drop them, and then I think you'd be better off. Or even Netflix. You already sold connected to Netflix and changed the name, so why not? And then Disney moved The Night House to July 16th, The Kingsman to August 20th, The Eyes of Tammy Faye to September 24th, Ron's Gone Wrong to October 22nd, Antlers to October 29th, and a limited theatrical release. Nightmare Alley to undisclosed date, as far as I'm aware, and as well as Bob's Burgers now being unset as a result of these shifts. Disney, you got Hulu, you got Disney Plus, you've got ESPN Plus. You can just put all the Searchlight pictures on there. I mean, you're doing it for Nomadland, just do it again here. I don't see the real big deal. But seriously, just move them. Speaking of moves, A Quiet Place Part 2 is also moved, this time to September 17th. And I just put this on Paramount Plus day and date. If you've got it coming up, just drop it, and that's a way to drive traffic to your platform. It's been, I want to say, a good 4 or 5 years since Quiet Place, and I'm ready for this. All these movies sound really great. My only problem is I think people are going to start getting sick of hearing this movie is delayed, and it's going to completely destroy consumer interest, as much as I hate saying those words. And, Joe Bell just moved to sometime in 2021. I think the major narrative here is that studios should just say, hey, streaming is the future for 2020 and 2021. And then maybe in 2022 say, hey, also, we'll go back to theaters. I think that's much easier of a pill to swallow than saying, hey, we're going to move this for a third time, the fourth time. Just that makes much more sense to me. And also, something that has moved, but it has moved ahead, just like Godzilla vs. Kong has. The 36th annual Film Independent Spirit Awards have now moved to Thursday, April 22nd, instead of the Saturday, April 25th date, or 24th date, sorry. And that's interesting for a couple reasons. Well, a few reasons, actually. Normally, the Film Independent Spirit Awards have been the night before the Oscars, and then that's kind of been your lead-in. It was like, oh, hey, Film Independent Spirit Awards, and then come back tomorrow night for the Oscars. I think the reason they did this is April is going to be a very packed season for awards. You've got the Golden Globes happening, you've got this happening, you've got the Oscars happening, and I think we're already starting to get a sense of fatigue, at least for me. I'll just speak for myself. There's a sense of fatigue in the air for me that doesn't want to see this awards season go into May or even June. It just doesn't make sense for most people, especially when there are new releases coming out. So honestly, good on the Film Independent Spirit Awards. I'll be voting and doing all that soon-ish. I can't wait to hear what the nominees are tomorrow. That'll be cool. I'll probably watch it on IFC because they're returning to there. It's going to be evening broadcast. That's going to be awesome. I just can't wait for that. And then in theatrical news, the Boy Has Done It AMC Theaters has raised $917 million in order to stay afloat during 2021. I'm going to be honest. Today, I thought I was going to open my email and see AMC Theaters has closed their doors. Streamers looking to buy or something like that from Deadline, Variety, you name it. But yeah, they raised $917 million. Let's go through this. They raised $917 million since December 14th of last year. $506 million of that has been equity that they gained from creating 164.7 million new common shares. And apologies if your eyes roll over. It's very technical. They created $100 million of additional first lien debt on top of their $100 million of second lien debt that they have now turned into equity. And a majority of that $917 million comes from the $411 million in these things called commitment letters. Basically allows AMC Theaters to accrue debt capital, meaning they can slowly start turning that into money through mid-2023 as part of a European debt deal. On this debt, AMC is going to have the option of paying non-cash payment in kind interest throughout this debt schedule through mid-2023. And yeah, I gotta be honest, I did not expect this. I honestly thought Netflix was gonna buy them. I mean, the colors are already there. I don't know a lot about how they did this, other than just commitment letters and selling shares like crazy. This is gonna be amazing. I love AMC. They're the biggest theater chain in the United States, and they're also one of the biggest in Europe. So getting that European debt is going to be really crucial to to operating AMC in 2021. Now, I do have. They did say that they have operating funds to keep the doors open, quote unquote, deep into 2021. But I have some questions because I have some doubts. My main questions are, what options does AMC now have regarding, you've basically raised $1 billion. What does that do in an era where people aren't really going to movie theaters? People are being driven to streaming services or to rental services. How do you make that $917 million plus interest back in this year or even mid-2023 when it's projected that by the wrap actually that's when moviegoers will be returning? I don't see it, quite honestly. Does that mean AMC Theaters has to change the movie-going experience as a whole? Do they say to Netflix or HBO or Warner Brothers or whoever, do they say, hey, do they make a deal like NBC Universal made? Do they say, hey, you can play your stuff for 17 days or 14 days or whatever amount of time, but you give us a chunk of change? Do they do that? It's been working pretty well for NBC Universal, but do they make a deal for themselves is kind of what I'm wondering. Because $917 million is nothing to just bat an eyebrow at. It's a lot of money. And frankly, money I don't think AMC is going to be able to make back even once moviegoers come back. Unless they, maybe say, hey, maybe release Netflix movies to rent or something like that on AMC On Demand or something. What are your thoughts? I'd like to hear what you think about the AMC deal and the movie changes, and maybe the Wonka prequel. Did you see the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer? I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, concerns, anything. That would, and you can do that by emailing me at contact@austinb.media. That is contact@austinb.media. Or you can just DM me on Twitter or Facebook. Well, no, just Twitter. Facebook's kind of a hodgepodge these days. And with that, let's get to the video games news of the week. So here's a big one. Xbox or Microsoft, whatever you want to call them these days, they announced that Xbox Live was going to be double the price. In short, a year is going to cost $120. 6 months was going to cost $60, and then 3 months was going to cost $30, and 1 month would be $11. Now, they backtracked on this because obviously that's insane. Asking players to spend $120 on a membership where you get 4 games a month and questionable other content isn't really the kind of move you want to pull, especially in a pandemic where people aren't, where they don't have a lot of money. And so, obviously, the community spoke out and was like, hey, Xbox, why are you doing this? And they said, okay, we know we messed up. We're reverting it. But I do want to talk about the opportunity that I think Xbox saw in doubling the price. I think the purpose for doubling the price is they wanted to convert Xbox Live Gold to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Just make that Xbox Ultimate. There's long been rumors of a third tier or something like that, Xbox Platinum, that was being bandied about the halls of Microsoft, saying, well, if we just add this much more money to it and add maybe 1 more game a month or something like that, make no mistake, Xbox is trying to be the Netflix of video games, not like Stadia, not like PlayStation Now, and truly, I think that's the value proposition they are trying to make. But I think they announced it way too soon. I think a lot of people get a lot of value out of Game Pass, as they well should. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of games on there, and I see much more of a case there to say, okay, this is now $120 because that's a lot of content. And in fact, it's almost Netflix levels of content. However, how did they think the consumer would react in a time like this? That's the one thing I look at, and I'm just like, don't know what you're thinking there, Microsoft. But what did you guys think? You can always email me at contact@austinb.media, because I truly think some people thought of it as a kind of rude gesture, this kind of malicious intent gesture, that Microsoft was now saying, well, to uphold our server costs or something like that, we now have to make it double the price. And I get that. I don't think I get all the other stuff that comes along with it. So thankfully, they reversed the decision. But in the week of stupid decisions, Activision has now decided to merge Vicarious Visions with Blizzard. Now, the Vicarious Visions was already part of Activision. They had already been there. They made the Spyro Reignited trilogy. They made Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. They made countless of other games. I think they even made some other original Crash Bandicoot games. Now they're not doing that. Activision is sending 200 Vicarious Vision employees over to Blizzard and saying, you're fully dedicated to existing Blizzard games and initiatives, whatever that means, and says to Vicarious Visions, hey, you're not the lead on anything anymore. You're done. You're out. I don't know why Activision is making this decision right then and now, and especially when they're talking about existing Blizzard games and initiatives. Did they see WoW, Shadowlands, or whatever it's called, numbers, and say, wow, no pun intended, we need more people to do this, and specifically Vicarious Visions to do this. It's kind of a head scratcher, really, especially when they have been dedicated to just reviving classic Activision franchises such as Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. And, Spyro. And yeah, I just think Viacom CBS Plus or something like that, I think works a lot better in terms of something where it's a one-stop shop for everything Viacom CBS than Paramount Plus. I get Paramount Plus is the bigger name, and that's the reason they've been giving. But yeah, no, I'm good. So yeah, that's. Oh, and there is a Harry Potter series in the works at HBO Max. That's all I know, unfortunately. But I just wanted to take some time to say that is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen. We've learned that Fantastic Beasts really doesn't have a lot of leg room to go, and Harry Potter is, well, that series was done a long time ago, and people, the fans of Harry Potter, don't necessarily like Harry Potter anymore. So, don't know if this is the best move, HBO. But with that, let's move on to some of the stuff I've been listening to. Now, I listened to a lot of the similar stuff, so I tried to pick some stuff I hadn't listened to last week. Tried, operative word. The first one was Narcissus by No Rome in the 1975. Honestly, I have no idea who No Rome is. Honestly, the 1975, it feels like they wanted to record a new song, but No Rome had the songwriting credit, and they just had to give him the credit here because it just doesn't seem like anything other than a 1975 song. So you know what you're getting with that. I like it. The 1975 always has this nice drive to it, lyrically and musically, that I think is kind of underappreciated. I know a lot of people bag on the 1975 for some of the stuff they do and how all their stuff really sounds the same. But this is nice. It's nice to just kind of lay back and have a poppy track. And speaking of poppy tracks, there's the Promising Young Woman soundtrack. There's a whole bunch of artists on this, so I won't go individually here. Honestly, if you've not seen Promising Young Woman yet, see it, and then listen to the soundtrack. I think you'll get a much better appreciation of the film by listening to the soundtrack than rewatching the film over and over and over again. Now, I do think Promising Young Woman is a film just to be celebrated, but the soundtrack is almost like a character of its own. I know a lot of people say that, but this is just feels like somebody's mixtape, like somebody burned a CD back in the early 2000s and it's been stuck in the CD player for maybe a decade or so, and they couldn't really get it out. So it's like, okay, we'll just leave this in here until we get a new stereo. And then they got the new stereo, was able to pull it out and listen to it all over again. That's kind of the feeling you get here. And one of the best covers of Toxic ever. But check those out. And then there's also a Weezer song in here uh, called "All My Favorite Songs," and short of it, it's a Weezer song. Um, it's the same kind of melody. It's the same. There's not a real lot to say about this song other than, hey, Weezer's good. And then we've got Julio Michaels' song called "Lie Like This." It's kind of this nice club song mixed with a bit of poppy vocals. Club song in that it kind of just has this driving beat, which I really like listening to, especially when I'm writing something. It's always nice to have something just thumping, kind of, and then I can listen to the lyrics whenever I want to. Um, and also, it's just nice music just for kind of focusing on things, is really what I'm trying to say. Because it just kind of gets you in a happy mood. And there's a lot of artists that do this, but Julia Michaels, what she's doing here is she's kind of doing three in one. She's transitioning from a club song to a pop song to an alternative song, and back and forth between choruses and verses and all that stuff. And I think this could end up being underrated. I know I don't like people say that, and then it's like $1 million pop artist. She very well may be, but I've never heard of the name, so forgive me. And then you've got Malibu by Kim Petras. This song is honestly, I think it's basically just a copycat of a Carly Rae Jepsen song. But honestly, a Carly Rae Jepsen song ain't bad. It's got nice 80s beats in there, and it's got nice. It's just nice, and I think sometimes that's all you want in a song is just you want a nice backbeat, and then you want the lyrics to mean something. And Malibu is just kind of that. It's just kind of not substantial, but it's there and it's nice. So check those 5 out. I'll have a Spotify playlist in the description, and also if you follow me on Spotify at Austin B Music, it'll be there as well. And before we leave, I want to talk about stuff I recently posted. I posted a review for Our Friend, One Night in Miami, the AFI Awards honorees for 2020, TV and film. Next on Disney Plus, February 2021, and the Film Independent Spirit Awards moving to Thursday. So until next week, this has been the Austin B Media Podcast. Don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. It really doesn't. The main problem would be a problem of its own creation, that they're segmenting this OS off from iOS, iPad OS, and all that other stuff. So I don't get it. Why even do it? And the main question is, a lot of the people I know who use iPhones or Macs or Apple Watches or Apple TVs, the main Apple people, I don't see them, like, how would Apple train them to use this? I use train very literally here because there is a certain barrier to entry here. You're not just typing on something. You're literally physically interacting, it would seem like. There's no remote here. It's just all your hands. So how's that going to translate? Anyways, it's whatever. I just have a lot of concerns about this. Because I thought, honestly, when they talked about AR glasses, they were just talking about stuff like Google Glass, which was just like kind of a thing where it showed you notifications just like Google Assistant does, and that was it, really. And I don't know, something that doesn't feel right on this. But that's all I gotta say about the Apple glasses and all that stuff. Uh, let's go over to the television space. Um, I was gonna give quick thoughts on WandaVision, but I think I'm gonna hold those for until WandaVision completes, because there's some things in episode 3 I do not want to spoil. So, um, so our first, the main stories are stories of streaming. Um, First of all, the WWE network has moved to Peacock. Well, actually, not yet. It's the WWE network is going to move to Peacock on March 18th. It'll include 17,000 plus hours of new original and library programming on demand and a 24/7 channel, kind of like the SNL channel on Peacock. All the live pay-per-view events will stream on Peacock starting on March 21st, including SmackDown, not SmackDown, WrestleMania, Hell in a Cell, things like that. There will be original series, in-ring shows, as well as the replays, the complete archives that exist on WWE Network right now, documentaries, which Peacock is now saying their WWE Network will now include one special documentary a year, starting in the year 2022, so next year. It sounds like the members of WWE Network will be grandfathered into this plan, but there will be more details on that later. And for Peacock, man, that's a weird. I get why they chose the name, but it is hard to say 5 times fast, and that's not good for a streaming service. Peacock Premium and Premium Plus members will be able to access WWE Network on day one, obviously, but they won't have to do any extra steps. It's just going to be on Peacock. So my main thoughts on this is, I know NBC Universal owns USA, which is where most of the WWE stuff is right now. I think there's some stuff on TNT, I think. So I see the move. I imagine that everything NBC Universal owns is going to eventually end up on Peacock. My main thing is, I don't see WWE Network people going over to Peacock. I think this is less price-wise than WWE Network. I think WWE Network is like 10, 15 bucks. I can't remember off the top of my head. That's what it was when it started. But I'm not sure if that's what it is now. So I mean, you're paying less for more, but I don't know about this whole deal. It seems like two different worlds coming together, and I don't think that, even though they're NBC Universal brands, I don't think they mesh quite as well as I think NBC Universal thinks they do. I mean, you're talking about archiving, like 30, 40, 50, no, not 50 years, 40, maybe 30 to 40 years of content and putting it on a streaming service that really doesn't play classic movies very well. And I'm just worried that when users of the WWE Network get on there and see all the stuff Peacock has to offer, they'll get really confused by the UI, and frankly, I don't think they'll stay very long if they get confused. So I'm going to put a pin on this because I'm interested on hearing what the plans are for WWE Network members, especially since there's like 3 tiers of Peacock. Like there's Peacock Free, there's Peacock Premium, which has little ads. It's kind of the same thing as Hulu, where there's Peacock Free, Peacock Premium, which has little ads, and Peacock Premium Plus, which has no ads. And I think no ads costs like $10 a month, last time I checked. So it's all very weird to me. But in other streaming news, Paramount Plus, formerly known as CBS All Access, is launching on March 4th in Latin America, the United States, and Canada on March 4th. And then the Nordics on March 25th, where it's being, I think the CBS All Access app is just being rebranded. That's the nomenclature I saw. My main thing with this is who really wants the rebrand from CBS All Access to Paramount Plus? The amount of times I've had to think of, okay, what's the new name for CBS All Access, has been staggering, especially when there's already a P service out there. There's Peacock, and now there's Paramount Plus, and there's already Paramount Network too, and there's Paramount Pictures, and I don't feel confident in the name, and I'm not confident in the use case for Paramount Plus. CBS All Access, before it was rebranded as Paramount Plus, it didn't really make much of the people who were watching it for like one or two things and then dipping. Kind of similar to Apple TV Plus, but honestly, this is kind of worse, because people will just watch Star Trek Discovery or Star Trek Lower Decks or The Stand or the upcoming Clarice movie, TV show. They'll watch that and get right off the service. They don't really stay too long. So what is the objective of Paramount Plus really? What are the new originals? Do they have any? They sure haven't detailed this. Honestly, the details we have right now is CBS All Access, now Paramount Plus, starting on March 4th. And then that's it. I mean, that's all the details. I think Camp Coral actually is a Paramount Plus original, and even that is very, very confusing. I don't think they should go forward with the Paramount Plus name, if I'm going to be honest with everyone. I think Viacom CBS Plus or whatever would work a lot better. That way they can just say, okay, this represents the Viacom brand.